What's happening, friends? Welcome back to Dynamo DeFi. My name is Patrick, and on this channel I talk about cryptocurrency, decentralized finance, and economics. Today's video is about Kujira. Kujira was one of the premier DeFi apps on the Terra network, and after the Terra crash in May, they announced that they would be transitioning to their own chain built on the Cosmos SDK. That's right, Kujira built their own layer 1 with KUJI as the native token, and it launched just this week. So that's a really fast turnaround from when Terra crashed back just less than 2 months ago, believe it or not. So in today's video, I'm going to go through exactly what applications Kujira is launching on their own chain, what plans they have for the future, and then some other important information about this really cool project. And before I go any further, I want to give a couple disclaimers. The first is that I have no affiliation with this project. I don't know the Kujira team. This is not a paid video. It's just a project that I found interesting. And second, I want to remind you that this is not financial advice. You should still do your own research, of which this video can be an important part. Awesome. Let's get into it. First, let's talk a bit about what Kujira is now and what they were prior to the Terra crash. Kujira's new branding is that they are grown up DeFi, and you can see here they call themselves the Cosmos Layer 1 platform for community selected projects creating true value. And catchphrases aside, I think that this is a pretty good assessment of what they do, because one of the things that I really liked about Kujira back when they were on Terra, and I didn't cover Terra a ton on this channel, but one of the things I liked is that they had an application that was actually unique to DeFi and that would have been impossible prior to DeFi. So they had an application called Orca, and basically what it allowed you to do was to bid on liquidations on Anchor. So people would leverage up Sol or Luna or ETH on Anchor, and then as those dropped in value, they would get liquidated, and you could offer to buy it at a 5%, 10%, 15% discount as people got liquidated. And that's a really cool application because it's a completely decentralized public market for these sorts of liquidations that anyone can access. And so that's what Orca was before. And this always impressed me as sort of a good use case of DeFi that you could explain to anyone. And when I had tried to explain DeFi to TradFi people in the past, I would often point to Orca as an example of an application. Plus, it just had really, really high quality user interface. So that's what Kujira was before. And then, of course, with Terra crashing, it would have been difficult for them to maintain this application on the network because it relied on Anchor. Additionally, in their announcement in May, they said that they had been considering launching their own application network anyways, because there were certain things they wanted to launch, like a decentralized order book, that just did not really lend themselves well to having their own layer 1. Back in my DYDX video last week, I talked about why an order book really needs its own layer 1. And so that's what they did. They launched their own layer 1, the Kujira network, on Cosmos, which means that it's connected to the IBC and it is connected to all the other Cosmos networks. And yeah, so let's talk a bit about what applications are on Kujira to start, and then some things that they will be building in the future. First, we have Orca. Orca is not live yet on the new Kujira network. However, it will be launching soon. And interestingly, the Orca markets that people will be able to bid on liquidations on to start will be on Karura, which is the DeFi hub of Kusama. So Orca and Kujira will also be sort of tying in with the Polkadot ecosystem. And I think, honestly, this was pretty unexpected to me, but I think that this is pretty cool because that means that Kujira is bridging the two main interoperability protocols, being Cosmos and Polkadot. And so really interested to see how this works out. And then eventually they'll be adding other markets where people can bid on liquidations as well. The application that is already live is known as Fin. And you can see that these are all different types of whales. Kujira, I believe, is Japanese for whale. So they have Fin, which is Cosmos's first decentralized, permissionless, 100% on-chain order book style token exchange. Wow, that is a mouthful. But basically, it's a decentralized exchange. They just launched it yesterday with one pair. That is KUJI and Axel USDC. So that is USDC that's been bridged over from a variety of networks. I'll talk about that more later, and you can see that it's an order book, just like you would have on a centralized exchange like Binance, FTX, KuCoin, but this is all on chain. And so they have Fin here. They'll be launching other pairs soon in the near future, and it's basically on-chain trading right here on their own network. And cool thing about this is that eventually they're going to incorporate margin trading. They've said this, and yes, you guessed right, margin trading will be another opportunity for people to bid on liquidation. So people often talk about exchanges taking all their money because they leveraged up and got liquidated. Well, Kujira lets you be the exchange, lets you be the whale, and bid on those liquidations. So I think that that's pretty cool use case. And one thing notice about all this I've said so far is that this does not have to do with the KUJI token, so I will talk about that in a bit, but these are just interesting use cases of the application that have nothing to do with the token itself, and that's a good thing. So you got Fin here. Another cool application they're building out, which they had on Terra, is Beluga. So this is tools for payments in a decentralized manner. So for example, one use case of that would be to send a single payment to multiple people. So for example, imagine you were doing payroll for a decentralized organization. You wouldn't want to have to do a single transaction for potentially thousands of employees. With this, you could easily send out payments to 10, 20, hundreds of people, and it's all pretty seamless. And you can see that they are planning to expand that to all sorts of payments on Cosmos. So excited to see this. And then finally, we have Blue. So Blue is basically the application where you manage your KUJI if you do have it. And so we'll talk a bit about the KUJI token now. You can see here that the total supply is apparently around 122 million. And the price, if you go over here, is around 40 cents. So for me personally, I am interested in this token because it is accruing value from fees on all these different applications. However, I will say that I'm going to wait a few days and see where the price settles, right? Because a lot of the times things will be volatile right when they launch, and this is not an insignificant market cap in a bear market to be 40 cents by 120 million, if that truly is the total supply. And I know the circulating supply is lower, but we'll look at the total supply for now. Another interesting thing about KUJI is that you can stake it and you get governance powers as well as staking rewards, of course, but the staking rewards are actually non-inflationary. So they are paying out these rewards with fees from the network, and it will be paid out in a basket of goods. So it'll be paid out in a combination of KUJI and USDC. You can actually pay gas on the chain using different tokens. So people will actually be receiving USDC for staking their KUJI. And I think that that's pretty cool. And those are the main applications that they have now or will be launching imminently. They have a few other things that they're planning to do that I think are worth mentioning now, because to me, you just look at the sorts of applications they've built. I've been very impressed with the team. So I'll be very curious in the things that they're launching in the future. And one thing I'll say is, it's easy, not easy, but it's one thing to build an application and grow it when everything's going right? You're in a bull market, your chain is doing well, and you're carried up by the rising tide that lifts all boats. It's an entirely different thing to build and adapt when everything goes wrong, right? When the chain that you built on basically collapses, loses more than 90% of its value, gets a bad reputation to many people. And I've been very impressed with how they've been able to adapt and how they've been able to go to their own chain and, without fully rebranding, expand their brand to be a Cosmos layer 1. So to me, that's impressive, and I was already impressed with the team, so it's definitely a project that I'll be watching in the future. One thing that they have hinted that they will be launching is that they say decentralized commerce is the next stage of growth in our industry. I agree with that, by the way. Payments is one of the most important use cases of crypto, and other things in crypto won't really be possible until we get payments down. So they want to bring in the next billion users, and they hint that they are launching their own wallet. And I think that there's such a good use case for a powerful wallet that we'll be interested to see if the user experience that they create here will match their user experience on some of these other applications. Some other things on Kujira is that it's semi-permissioned. Basically, that means that in order for contracts to launch on it, they need to be voted in by governance. So anyone can build an application on Kujira. However, to launch it, it has to be approved by governance. So there will be other applications, but they do have to be approved. And that's sort of an interesting halfway point between fully permissionless and decentralized and centralized. I think this is sort of a way to have it permissioned in a decentralized manner. Another thing to note is that if you want to bridge to the chain, they do have a bridge set up. You can get to it by going to blue.kujira.app and then clicking on the bridge section. And you can see here that they have a bridge powered by Axelar that goes from Ethereum, Avalanche, Polygon, Phantom, or Moonbeam. So a number of the top Ethereum virtual machine networks. And you'll note that on Ethereum, you're bridging USDC, but on many of these other networks, you're bridging Axel USDC or Axel DAI. And so you will have to convert your USDC to Axel USDC using Curve first. And you can see there's some good options: Avalanche, Polygon, Phantom, Moonbeam. If you want a low fee network, those are all solid options. Another thing I'll note is that because by default your network fees are paid in KUJI, you will have to change that to be paid in Axel USDC after you bridge it over in order to make a transaction. There is a guide here that was published by Team Kujira, and it's a guide to trading on Fin. So I'll copy that link down in the description, and here it explains how to convert your wallet to paying fees in USDC. And it's a bit of a cumbersome process right now, which is why I'm not going to go through it entirely in this video. Overall, what is my assessment on Kujira? Well, like I said before, I'm extremely impressed that they were able to adapt and get this new chain up and running so quickly. Also speaks to the power of Cosmos, to be honest, because the fact that Cosmos has this toolkit that developers can use to launch their own chain is so powerful and such an asset to the entire crypto space. Another thing that I'll say is that their user experience is really, really good. And to me, that is probably something that a lot of DeFi projects struggle with. So seeing someone that's building unique applications with a great user experience is always something that can make a project stand out. As far as concerns that I have about this, well, the first is that anything new is risky. And even though they were on another chain for a few months, being less than a year old is still relatively new, and being on a new chain is pretty much like a new product. My bigger concern is that they could be spreading themselves too thin. You have other applications like DYDX that are focused solely on on-chain order books, whereas Kujira is doing payments, they're doing order books, they're doing Orca, and they're doing other things too. And it does come together in a way, but I would say that my main concern is just, will they be able to compete with projects that are solely focused on one of those use cases? And I think Orca is something that definitely helps them stand out. But if I have any concerns, that would be it. Overall, though, love this project. Definitely one that I'll be continuing to follow, and I'm hoping to see more applications launch on this chain. That's all I got for today. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe. That can really help the channel out. And until next time, this is Dynamo DeFi.